On May 1st, 2020, and under the cover of the coronavirus pandemic, the Federal Cabinet issued Order in Council PC 2020-298, the OIC, amending regulations under the Criminal Code. This OIC arbitrarily reclassified approximately 1,500 previously legal firearms and variants as prohibited, thereby making it suddenly illegal to own them. Trudeau's cabinet also issued an amnesty order, allowing current owners a 2-year amnesty period ending April 30th, 2022. This OIC results in a massive and arbitrary confiscation of private property from law-abiding Canadians. Good evening. My name is William Stevens, and I am one of 2 million Canadians affected by this ban. This ban seeks to remove assault weapons, or any weapon capable of firing more than one bullet per trigger pull, from Canadians in hopes of reducing gun crime. When I say this ban targets the most scrutinized demographic, we, as restricted firearm owners, are subject to a continuing eligibility check, also known as a daily criminal records check. This ban is off target. Trudeau's arbitrary confiscation of private property from Canadians was not effected via Parliament. There was no public consultation, no debate, or study occurred in advance of this mass confiscation. Very little explanation has been given by Trudeau's cabinet to explain how or why it selected the firearms that it is now confiscating from law-abiding citizens. Issues? Yes, Canada has experienced mass shootings in rural urban areas such as Nova Scotia, Quebec, Montreal, and Toronto. Whether at home or abroad, the deadliest mass shootings are commonly perpetrated by assault-style firearms. This is a myth perpetrated by the Liberal government. According to Stats Canada, handguns are the most common firearm used, followed by the basic .22 caliber rifle. These events and concerns about the inherent deadliness of assault-style firearms used in them have led to increasing public demand for measures to address gun violence and mass shootings in Canada. No one firearm is more deadly than another when used properly by licensed and trained people. The regulations address gun violence and threats to public safety by assault-style firearms. The Government of Canada recognizes that their inherent deadliness makes them unsuitable for civilian use and a serious threat to public safety given the degree to which they can increase the severity of mass shootings. Another myth. This ban does not address gun violence at all. In fact, it does not deter criminals who are the ones committing violence with these guns. Listing these newly prohibited firearms as unsuitable for use by civilians is ludicrous due to the fact that most have been used by civilians for years for their designed purpose of hunting or sport shooting, but by licensed gun owners. The order declaring amnesty period 2020, the amnesty order, accompanies the regulations to protect individuals who were in lawful possession of one or more of the newly prohibited firearms or prohibited devices on the day the regulation came into effect from criminal liability for unlawful possession for the purpose of allowing individuals to come into compliance with the law. Yes, we are protected from criminal liability during the amnesty period. However, since we still get a daily criminal records check, if our name is ran through the Canadian Police Information Centre, we are flagged. This means in some cases, we will not pass a criminal records check. During the amnesty period, the government intends to implement a buyback program to compensate affected owners for the value of their firearms after they are delivered to a peace officer, at a cost to the taxpayers that is expected to climb into the billions once all the payouts and administration fees are calculated, not the couple million the government is predicting. However, until a buyback program is offered, affected owners will not be eligible for compensation. An option to participate in a grandfathering regime would also be made available for affected owners. This is almost as useless as a grandfathered firearm in the prohibited class is confined to a safe and cannot be taken out for use. Some background. First, it should be noted, assault-style firearms were defined and made prohibited in 1977, with further prohibitions and tighter regulations to them in 1982. The government claims assault-style firearms are not suitable for hunting or sport shooting purposes given the inherent danger they pose to public safety. The newly prescribed firearms are primarily designed for military or paramilitary purposes, with the capability of injuring, immobilizing, or killing humans in large numbers within a short period of time, given the basic characteristics they possess, such as tactical or military design and capability of holding a quickly reloadable large capacity magazine. Here lies a few problems. The AR-15, which looks like the Canadian Forces C7C8 rifle, or the US M16 rifle, is functionally different. The AR-15 can only fire one round per trigger pull and has a limit of 5 rounds in the magazine. Any magazine larger than 5 rounds is pinned in a way that it can only load 5 rounds. There is no way a legally owned AR-15 in Canada can fire or be made to fire more than one bullet per trigger pull. Under law, any semi-automatic firearm sold in Canada has to be designed so that any attempt to convert it to full automatic fire renders the rifle useless. The military rifles that the AR-15 look like are capable of automatic fire and have up to 30 rounds in their magazine. Secondly, the AR-15 was designed based on the AR-10 for civilian use for hunting. Most of the firearms in this ban are not even used, nor were they used by any military on the planet, with a few exceptions. The government will tell us there was extensive public engagement on the issue of banning handguns and assault-style firearms, led by then Minister of Border Security and Organized Crime Reduction, which took place between October 2018 and February 2019, with the province and territories, municipalities, indigenous groups, law enforcement, community organizations, and industry. The public were special interest groups such as Police Suivante, an anti-firearm group formed after the École Polytechnique shooting, and Doctors Against Guns. There was little to no consultation with indigenous persons, as many of the rifles listed in the ban have been used by them for hunting. Little to no consultation with police agencies, as many, including the RCMP, have spoke against the ban. The government also says online polls showed support for the ban. Their poller was Angus Reid. People must be registered with the company and are offered targeted surveys based on their profiles. This company is also a very liberal, biased agency. In the words of our government, the prohibited firearms are tactical and/or military-style firearms and are not reasonable for hunting or sport shooting. Individuals may have used some of the listed firearms for hunting or purposes on the basis that they were previously classified as non-restricted firearms. In addition, some of the listed firearms may have been used by individuals for sport shooting on the basis they have been classified as restricted. However, the fact that these firearms are sometimes used for hunting or sport shooting does not supersede the fact that they were built with the intent to be used by the military and are capable of killing a large number of people in a short period of time. The amnesty order encourages compliance with the law and seeks to protect lawful firearm owners who acted in good faith when they acquired the firearms before coming into force of the regulations and the amnesty order. It provides affected owners with a reasonable amount of time to divest themselves of the firearms by any of the means set out in the amnesty order. Let's deconstruct this. First, the prohibited firearms are tactical and military-style firearms and are not reasonable for hunting or sport shooting. They may look tactical or military, black plastic pieces rather than all wood, and many are commonly used for hunting, and within the US, like the AR-15, it is a hunting rifle. Most of the prohibited rifles are used in various target shooting sports all over the world. 2. However, the fact that these firearms are sometimes used for hunting or sport shooting does not supersede the fact that they were built with the intent to used by the military for killing a large number of people in a short period of time. Only the military versions of these firearms were built with that intent, and those have been prohibited since 1977. The civilian versions, again, are limited to 5 bullets and 1 shot per trigger pull. 3. The amnesty order does not encourage compliance. We either surrender our firearms now and lose our investment, export them if we can arrange and get the proper paperwork, but cannot sell them, again we lose our investment, or wait for a buyback of only pennies on the dollar for the rifle, only, none of the accessories. Now that the problem the government faces will cost taxpayers millions in court fees, as there are at least 7 challenges filed against the government. Section 117.15, paragraph 1 of the Criminal Code of Canada lists the powers of the Governor in Council, legal term for cabinet, to classify any firearm, weapon, device, or ammunition as prohibited, restricted, if the Governor and Council is of the opinion the firearm is reasonable for use in Canada for hunting or sporting purposes. This provision could legally be challenged on the two grounds. First one, there are no checks or balances on the opinion of the Cabinet due to the COVID. And many of the prohibited items may be, and in fact are, used for hunting and sport shooting all over the world. Trudeau says Canada has a gun problem. Between 2000 and 2016, firearm deaths break down like this: 75% by suicide, 20% homicide, accidental 2%, legal intervention 1%, undetermined intent 1%. When looking at firearms used, most often it is a handgun rather than a rifle. Another stat, of all shootings in Canada, 98% were done with an illegally acquired firearm. Of that remaining 2%, less than 0.02% was done by someone with a valid firearms license. Yes, I am against this ban, only because it is underhanded, ill-conceived, and seeks to punish what is probably the most law-abiding members of society. That being said, if this ban was focused on handgun, the most commonly used firearm in crime, and was properly debated, I could support the action. If the time and resources the government spent devising this and the future costs involved, a low estimate of $8 million plus taxpayer dollars on a buyback, was directed into fighting illegal firearm importation and actual criminals, I would support this. Through the actions of Parliament, and of no wrongdoing of myself or over 2 million other Canadians, we are losing property and are being treated like criminals.